And the evening is just beginning. Up next, Kim Giles. She's the president and founder of the Clarity Point Coaching Academy, a master executive coach for 14 years. She's been featured on local and national television and radio, including Good Morning America, who named her one of the top 20 advice gurus in the country. In addition to authoring 3 books, she writes a syndicated advice column you may read at KSL.com. She's also a regular contributor on Forbes.com. Help me welcome to the stage, Kim Giles.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you. So why do we have bad parenting behavior on occasion? Why do we lose our temper and react emotionally? Why do we sometimes talk more than we listen? That bad relationship behavior that shows up in all of us from time to time happens for one simple reason. It happens because we get scared. And when we get scared, our focus is on us. Have you ever realized when you feel insecure that the focus is all about you? It is. And nobody triggers our fears more than our children, right? We're afraid all the time that we're failing as a parent. We get afraid that we look bad. We get afraid that we'll lose them. There's so many things to be afraid of. But the problem with parenting from fear is that it keeps the focus on you and your concerns and your worries. And we react and we say things and we do things that make us feel better, but not necessarily what makes our child feel better or what our child needs. Right? I want to ground mine for the rest of their natural life because that would make me feel better, but it's not always what's best for them. So tonight, I want to talk about the biggest fear that gets us as parents, as spouses, in our families that causes this kind of behavior that's reactive and emotional and not always loving. And I want to teach you tonight how to get out of that fear, so that you can really be the loving parent and spouse that you really want to be. Would that help? Okay, so tonight, I'm going to share with you a secret, a simple secret to get out of fear in your parenting. And it comes down to that there are 2 states you can parent from. You can either parent from fear, where your focus is mostly on you, or you can parent from a place we call trust and love. And in this place, you're not afraid. And you really can show up in a way that's focused on your child or your spouse or whoever else is involved. And this is simple when there's only 2 choices, right? I can be in fear, or I can be in trust and love. Now, what I want to teach you tonight is how to get from one state to the other. And in order to do that, we have to really understand our fear. So there is one fear that every single person in this room and every single person on the planet does battle with every day to some degree. And it's our deepest, darkest fear. It's the fear of failure. And we call it the fear of not being good enough. And you guys all are familiar with this fear because you feel it all the time. And I think it started when we were little kids. Because the first thing that happens when you're a child is everybody starts saying, no, don't do that, don't be like that. You need to be more like this. And what are they really saying? That I need to be different than who I am to be enough? And then we start school, and the first thing you learned in school is that there's kids smarter than you and better looking and more athletic. And that fear just gets bigger. And I wish as an adult that I could tell my kids that I've grown out of it. But we haven't, have we? A matter of fact, as an adult, there's just a lot more levels on which we can fail. We can now be a terrible parent. We can fail at work. That fear is just huge. And every day that we experience that fear, it keeps us from showing up with love, because fear and love are like darkness and light, and they both can't exist at the same time in the same place. We can't have a room that's both dark and light. So we've got to learn how to get out of this fear so that we can be the love in the world that's really who we are. So, in order to teach you how to get out of that fear, I have to first teach you what causes it. the real reason that we're all afraid we're not good enough. And it comes from a very deep foundational core belief that we all have on the subconscious level. And that means it's a belief that we're not really consciously aware of, but it's in there. Now, I also want you to recognize the difference between a belief and a fact. A fact is something that doesn't change and that we know is true. A belief is an idea that we think might be true, but it could change, right? So this is a belief. It's not a fact, but a lot of us think it is. And it is the belief that your value is in question, that life is literally a test, and you have to earn your value. And we believe then that your value can go up and it can go down, right? If we could just lose weight or make more money or be a little more perfect, our value would go up. What is that? Give them just a minute. Do you want to switch? Awesome. Okay, that'll work. All right. Yeah, thanks guys for fixing that. You saved the day. Okay, so fear of failure is caused by the belief that you believe your value as a human being can change and that you have to earn it. And that if you could just do better, lose weight, make more money, your value would go up and then you could finally feel good about yourself and not be afraid. But if you believe that your value can go up, you also believe that your value can go down. And that's where this idea that life is a test comes in, where we feel like every mistake we make docks our value and it goes down. And we literally feel like we might be less than other people, which isn't truth, but it's a belief and it's one that we all deal with. We have been taught to believe that our value is based on these 4 things. As a little child, you picked this up watching mom and dad. And what you learned is that your value depends on how good you look, how well you perform. Do you win the game? Did you get good grades? And it's affected by your property. As adults, what car do you drive? What house do you live in? We let all those things affect our value, how valuable we feel. And then the opinions of other people come into play. How much do we worry about what everybody thinks of us? And we let these things take our self-esteem up and down on a daily basis. And this isn't just happening to us as parents, is it? It's happening to all of our kids. And the main reason that kids get into trouble is because they're covering their own fear that they're not good enough. I know this from experience. I have a son that had a real hard-fought battle with drugs many years ago. And at the end of the day, when he finally really talked to me about what it drove him to drugs, it was all about self-medicating to cover his fear that he wasn't good enough every day. These are the same fears that all of us are battling. And this idea that your value is in question and can change based on these 4 things, it's what's causing the problem. Because as long as you believe that your value can go up and down, you also believe that some human beings have more value than other human beings, because those 2 beliefs go together. And if you really think about it, that belief is the real cause of most of the problems on the planet. All the war, the terrorism, the racism. At its heart, it's all about groups of people that think they have more value than other groups of people. This idea that human value can change is what's causing all of these problems. And as long as you still believe that your value can change, you will never feel good enough. Because no matter how hard you work, how much weight you lose, or how much money you make, you will find other people that have done more on one of those levels. They've done more, and you will still always feel like you're not enough. So I'm going to tell you tonight the secret to getting out of that fear so that you can show up in love. It lies in changing that core belief and actually deciding that for you, human value is not on the line. Life is not a test. It's a classroom. You know the difference between a test and a classroom? In a test, every mistake you make counts. It docks your grade and you can't get it back. But in a classroom, it's learning time. And the teacher might give you problems to solve, and if you get it wrong, you can just erase and try again. And your grade isn't affected. And everybody in the class has the same value. We have found that if you will change that one belief in your mind and choose to see all human beings as having the same infinite, absolute value, and when we make bad choices, they're very good lessons, but they don't change your value at all. If you decide to see every human being as having the same worth, then nothing that you do, a bad hair day, a big mistake at work, crash your car, you still have the exact same value and you always will. We can literally take the fear of failure off the table if we choose to see all human beings as the same, having the same value, and we've got to teach this to our kids. A matter of fact, there's two really important things. If you want this to change your life and to get the fear of failure out of your home and your family, you first have to give up judgment. Now, what this means is you can't see other people and gossip and speak bad and cast them as not enough or worse than you. Because the minute you do that, you're giving power to the old belief. You're giving power to the idea that people can be not good enough, that they can be less. And as long as you hold on to that belief and continue with that track, you'll always feel that you're not enough too. So we have to give up judgment. Number two, we've got to start making this the language in our home every day. So that when a child drops a plate and it shatters into a million pieces in the kitchen, the first thing they hear from you is, it's okay. It didn't affect your value. You've got the same value. When the kids win the soccer game, make sure you remind them that they still have the same value as the kids on the other team. When they lose the soccer game, make sure you tell them that that didn't affect their value. Now, I have to tell you, in my home with my 7 kids, this has become the language in our home all the time. And every time mom does something stupid, dings the car, the first thing they say is, Mom, don't worry, that didn't affect your value. They got it. And if you will make that the language in your home, that's funny, I dropped that. That didn't affect my value either, just so you guys know. If you will make this the language in your home, I'll make you a promise, because we've been teaching this for the last 15 years, and it is life-changing. It takes everybody's fear out of the picture. And we can see all of these interesting experiences and adventures with our kids as amazing lessons, but we all know we're good enough at the end of the day. And this will change the way you show up for your kids, because when they make a mistake, the first thing that happens with us is that fear. And if we can step back for a minute and remind ourselves that we're all okay, these are just lessons in the classroom of life. But I'm not failing as a parent. I don't have to be a perfect parent to be the perfect parent for my child. I believe those kids were sent to your home because whatever mistakes you make are going to screw them up in exactly the way they're meant to be screwed up. It's a perfect classroom. The universe knows what it's doing. And no matter what happens in your home, as you grow and learn, and as they grow and learn, you still have the same value as everybody else. Now, really, the magic of this is, can you imagine if all of us embraced this principle? If we all chose to see every human being, no matter their color, their sexual orientation, their race, their religion, everybody is having the same exact value, we could not just change our families, we might be able to change the world. Are you with me? Thank you. It's been an honor to be here. Thank you so much.